I've always been a big fan of Disneyland, but after this I can't look at it the same way again. You see, from as far back as I can remember, Disneyland was my happy place. The sights, the sounds, the smells, they all painted this colorful tapestry of joy and wonder. I mean, who doesn't love a place where dreams come true, right? Every summer, like clockwork, I would save up every penny I earned, just to feel the thrill of those rides and the magic that filled the air. The Pirates of the Caribbean, Space Mountain, and of course my all-time favorite, the Haunted Mansion. I was captivated by the eerie atmosphere, the chilling thrill that ran down my spine every time I stepped foot into that ghostly manor. It was a strange kind of love, a fascination with the macabre that only a true horror fan could understand. But one summer everything changed. I was there, standing in line for the Haunted Mansion, the familiar sense of anticipation tingling in my veins. I remember stepping onto the doom buggy, the air growing colder as I ventured deeper into the mansion. The ghostly apparitions, the haunted ballroom, the graveyard jamboree, everything was as it should be. It was a ride like any other, until it wasn't. Something was off. I could feel it in my bones. The air felt heavier, the darkness a bit too real, the whispers a bit too loud. I brushed it off as a trick of the mind, a result of the eerie ambiance. But as I moved further into the mansion, I couldn't shake off the feeling of dread that was slowly creeping up on me. It was as if the mansion was alive, watching, waiting. The final stretch of the ride was the worst. There was a chill in the air that bit through my skin, a sense of unease that I couldn't shake off. The disembodied voices seemed to echo louder, the spectral figures seemed more real, more tangible. The line between fantasy and reality began to blur, and for the first time, I felt genuine fear. I mean, this was Disneyland, the happiest place on earth, right? But that day, the Haunted Mansion was a little too real for comfort. I remember feeling a chill as I stepped into the ride, but I brushed it off as part of the experience. The ride was a darkened labyrinth, filled with a ghostly mist that clung to the air like a bad omen. It was as if I had stepped into a forgotten world, lost in time and abandoned to the shadows. The atmosphere was heavy with an unsettling stillness, broken only by the distant echoes of eerie sounds. Faint whispers seemed to dance in the air, their origin unknown. The unsettling symphony of creaking machinery and the distant howling of a phantom wind sent shivers down my spine. It was a chilling orchestra of the supernatural, designed to instill dread in the hearts of the brave. The ride was a parade of creepy animatronics, their movements stiff and uncanny. They were a ghastly gallery of ghouls and specters, each one more terrifying than the last. Their painted smiles were distorted into grotesque grins, their eyes vacant and soulless. As we passed each one, I could almost believe they were more than just machines, that beneath their plastic skin something sinister lurked. And then I saw it, a figure that didn't quite fit the pattern. It was oddly still. Unlike the other animatronics, its costume was ragged and worn, its paint chipped and faded. But it was the eyes that caught my attention. They weren't the usual vacant stare of the animatronics. These eyes were different. They seemed alive. An uncomfortable feeling washed over me. It was as if I was being watched, observed by this strange figure. Its gaze was unnerving, penetrating, as though it could see right through me. I tried to laugh it off, to convince myself it was just another part of the ride, but the feeling persisted. It clung to me like a shadow, a chilling reminder of the figure's unsettling gaze. I couldn't shake off the feeling that those lifeless eyes were watching me. As the ride went on, I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. My heart pounded in my chest, a drumbeat of unease setting the rhythm for the whole experience. The air grew colder, the neon lights seemed to flicker, casting eerie shadows that danced and twirled around me. I noticed a figure, a silhouette really, lurking at the corners of my vision. It popped up in the most unexpected places, behind the animatronic characters, in the reflections on the ride's glass panels. At first I thought it was just my imagination playing tricks on me, but the figure kept appearing. It seemed to be following me, matching the speed of the ride, keeping pace with my uneasiness. A shiver ran down my spine as I realized that this was no ordinary Disneyland ride. The figure was not part of the show, it was not part of the magic. It was something else, something dark and sinister. My heart raced, adrenaline coursing through my veins as I tried to convince myself that it was all just part of the ride, a trick of the light, a figment of my imagination. But then the ride stopped. The lights went out and all I could hear was my own breath, ragged and heavy. I felt a presence, a weight in the air that hadn't been there before. I could feel the figure's eyes on me, could feel its gaze boring into me. I was trapped in the darkness, trapped on a ride that had suddenly turned into a nightmare. Panic surged through me and I did the only thing I could. I ran. I pushed through the darkness, my hands reaching out blindly in front of me, my feet stumbling over unseen obstacles. But it felt like the park itself was turning against me, the paths twisting and turning, leading me further into the darkness. I could hear the figure behind me, its footsteps echoing my own, a haunting reminder of the chase. But no matter how fast I ran, no matter how hard I tried to escape, the figure was always there, always just a step behind. I ran, but it felt like the park itself was turning against me. I didn't know how, but I needed to get out of there. Panic gripped me like a vice, every instinct screaming at me to run, to escape. The air felt thick, the darkness of the ride pressing down on me like a weight. My heart pounded in my chest, a wild drum echoing in my ears. The only thought in my mind was survival, the primal need to flee from whatever was behind me. I turned, my feet slipping on the polished floor as I sprinted away. The air whistled past my ears, the darkness of the ride seeming to stretch out into infinity. I could hear the growl of whatever was chasing me, the sound echoing off the walls, growing louder with each passing second. I skidded around a corner, the world tilting as I nearly lost my footing. I could feel the thing behind me, its presence like a dark shadow. It was close, too close. I could hear its breath, could feel its gaze on the back of my neck. I pushed myself harder, my lungs burning, my legs aching with exertion, and then suddenly I was outside. The night air hit me like a slap, cold and biting. I stumbled, my momentum carrying me several feet before I managed to stop. I turned, my heart pounding, expecting to see the thing that had been chasing me, but there was nothing. Just the empty ride, its entrance gaping like a dark mouth. The quiet was deafening. The absence of the thing's presence a stark contrast to the terror I had just experienced. I was out, but the fear didn't leave me. It clung to me like a second skin, a constant reminder of what I had just experienced. The ride, once a place of joy and laughter, now held a dark secret, a hidden terror that would forever haunt my dreams. The relief of escape was short-lived, replaced by a chilling realization. I had escaped, but the thing was still out there, lurking in the shadows of the ride. And I knew, deep down, that I would never be able to forget its haunting presence. I was out, but the fear didn't leave me. I tried to tell people what happened, but no one believed me. It was as if I was playing a game of telephone in a room full of deaf ears. Everyone dismissed my tale as a figment of my overactive imagination, or worse, a desperate attempt to gain attention. No one wanted to believe that Disneyland, the happiest place on earth, could harbor such a dark secret. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the haunted mansion. Every time I heard laughter, I remembered the unsettling encounter. And every time I saw a crowd, I was back in the unnerving chase, running for my life. The memories were etched into my mind, a constant reminder of the terror I'd experienced. The disbelief of others was almost as hard to bear as the ordeal itself. My friends, my family, they all thought I was losing it. They suggested therapy, even medication. They said I was stressed, overworked, that I was seeing things that weren't there. But I knew what I had seen, what I had felt. The fear was real, tangible, its icy fingers still wrapped around my heart. And then there was the lingering fear. It never left, never faded. It was there when I woke up in the morning, it accompanied me throughout the day, and it was there when I went to bed at night. It was a constant companion, a shadow that never left my side. I was always looking over my shoulder, always expecting the worst. I was trapped in my own personal horror story with no end in sight. I couldn't escape the reality of what I had experienced. I couldn't forget, and I couldn't move on. I was stuck in a nightmare that had once been a dream. Disneyland, the place I had once loved, had become a symbol of terror. I made a resolution then. I would never set foot in Disneyland again. I couldn't risk reliving the horror, couldn't bear the thought of facing that fear again. I was done with the happiest place on earth. Disneyland, the happiest place on earth? Not for me, not anymore.